Everybody, welcome to Woodworking and Wisdom. Today is something a little bit different for me. I'm going to be making this wine bottle tree. So let's have a look and see how we do it. Right, this is the piece of timber that we're going to start with. So I've already cut this to a rough size, even though we're going to do a lot of shaping to it. But it's a piece of sycamore. It's about 3 inches, about 75 mil in its thickness. And if we take a height measurement, it will change. I mean, this is hopefully going to have about 5 bottles of wine in it. So it will change for everybody. You can do a 3-bottler, you can do a 9-bottler, or whatever you want. But we're up to around about 19 inches, so around about 48 to 49 centimetres. And width-wise, we're looking at about 10.5, so about 27 in terms of width. So a good substantial piece of timber. And the other thing you need to think of, if you're going to, obviously the taller you go, you need to have that stable base. So you'll have to have a little bit more width on the piece as well. So just think about that. A sort of 2-inch 50mm piece won't have any support for bottles of wine, so just bear that in mind, even if it means laminating together or doing 2 bits with a joiner in the middle. But yeah, this should be a nice sturdy chunk of timber. So yeah, next is just to scribe it out, mark out where we're going to cut, and we go over to the bandsaw. Okay, so I'm using this piece of timber. This is actually one of my jam chucks, but it's a 100mm cross, about 4 inches, which works out really quite well for wine bottles. You could, of course, grab a wine bottle and scribe around that one. But what I want to do is have the positions sort of equally. I like to go for odd numbers as well, so I'm going to go try and get 5 in there. So I sort of roughly mark it out by eye, and then I'll put a pencil mark in. I want to leave enough. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute, but I want to leave enough material that I can do a nice end to this branch. So let's come around with my first one. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So in a minute we're going to cut this out. Okay, we're going to have another hole up here, but I want to, rather than just cut it out, I want to have like a nice little end, a little cradle area, so it'll soften a corner around there. So let's get the next branch in. I like this natural edge on that side as well. Running up this length here is just a nice little bit of rustic look to it. And this is a wine bottle tree, remember, so these are the limbs that are coming around, hence the close proximity to each other. But I don't want anything uniform, I want it fairly random, so we can make sure the branches look dissimilar. Let's come further out, bring that one right out there, because the other one's going to come right the way in. There. Then last one here. All right. Okay, so then the last one, just up the top here. There we are. So a lot of this timber is not going to be part of it. So we're going to come around. So my branch is coming around here, and we're going to come up. Obviously I can make this much neater on the bandsaw, and then we'll just have a nice little radius on that area there. Same up here. This is going to, we need to come around a bit further, so let's bring that one down nice and softly. Got to make sure we can get our bottle of wine in. Don't forget, you can just thread it through, or you can bring them in from the side. Let's go a little bit higher. There we are, and we can put some real shape on the bottom. Leave some stability, but bring some shape around. So that's that one up there. Then again, we'll come around, so around the corner. And then we'll come up, and then a nice. Let's come high. So I'm going to come right the way up and around. So that nice high branch, because this one here is going to be a little bit lower. So soften that corner. It's a nice big chunk of timber down there. Then we'll bring this one up and around. A little bit easier. And then again, what should we do on the top? So I think what we'll do is we'll come around here, just sort of cradling this top bottle. That'd be quite cool. So there's quite a funky shape going on there. And of course now the hardest thing is going to be the bandsaw. So I'm going to do a few clearance cuts when we do this. I'll probably come in halfway around here, so we can then come around a little bit at a time, because we're going to have to nibble this away. I've got a thin blade on the bandsaw, but we're going to have to nibble a little bit. Good. That's better. Might come up a little bit higher than that, we'll see. Good. Okay, next thing, over to the bandsaw. I'm going to, because I can already see that's the tight radius there, so I'm going to do some cuts in so I can cut halfway through, reposition, and take the rest of the cut away. I'm not too worried. If I don't get a perfect finish on here, I'm not too worried, because we're going to go with the bobbin sander afterwards, just to clean this up. So all the concave surfaces I can do with that one. And then I use just a regular sander to do the convex shapes as well. So just in preparation, I'm going to pick something easy, so an easier section first, and do those relief cuts. So here goes. Okay, so that's one half. That's why we've done the relief cut. Now I can come back in from this side and finish that area away. So we got our first wine bottle cut out done. Now all we're going to do is carry on and do exactly the same thing on all the others. We're going to blend this over as well, and to start with we nip that corner right the way off. And the sander can just trim that nice and smooth as well. Right at the end. So other corner. There we are. And then, like I said, this is a natural edge on this side. I'm going to leave that fairly square just to show that nice natural bit of bark away. So next hole. Let's take away. A little bit of silica coming through this, so if we were wood turning now, that's as hard as nails. That would blunt our tool straight away. I'm not sure what it's doing to the bandsaw blade, but it's not going to be good. Okay, well, coming from the other side, we've done a lot of clearance here, so if I come down and break away that next section. Okay, next one. So nice short one, this one. So let's do a clearance cut. Okay, so we're going to do all these internal curves with the bobbin sander. You could, of course, just hand sand them in. You could leave them rough. You can do whatever you want, really. It's just that we've got the machine here. We might as well just clean up as much as we can. Then we're going to go to a belt sander to do the outside. Again, you can do that by hand or with your own, maybe an orbital sander, but whatever you want to. But here we go. We're going to put dust extraction on first, of course, and then sand away. Just moving fairly slowly to make sure we get good coverage. I'm going to go around there again. There we are. So all I'm going to do now is flip the piece over and do exactly the same thing from the other side, just to make sure that I've got that internal curve covered and to clean up this top edge as well. Okay, so we've finished with the bobbin sander. We're also finished with the belt sander now. Now, I don't need to show you how that's done, but basically it's all of the convex curves can be done with that one, and the bobbin sander, all the concave cuts. There's still a little bit of work to be done if you want to. I'm going to keep it a little bit rusty. It's going to fit in with the outside, and we're going to blend in some corners and so on. And we're also going to put like a clear wax on this one, so I'm not too worried about leaving a few marks and scrapes. You go as completely as clean as you want to, of course. But our next job is to clean up the faces, and again we're just going to start with a random orbital sander, fairly coarse abrasive on it, and just go through a couple of grades. I'm not worried about being absolutely pristine at the end of it. Just a couple of grades, keep it nice and rustic and chunky. But there we are, one so far fully reversible bottle tree, wine bottle tree. Okay, so we're just going to use the random orbital sander, and we're going to clean up this surface, get it almost back to smooth. If there's a few little planar marks, I'm happy with that. That's sort of the sort of signature of the piece, really. It's a rustic piece. So here we go. Just going down one more grade. So this is a 180, but we started off with a 120. So we're going to put wax in the Charnet ultimately, but I'm going to start off with some oil. So we can wax over oil, and because I like the smell of it, we're going to use some of the citrus oil. And we're just going to brush it in, wipe off the excess and leave that to set and to dry, and then we can put our wax finish over the top. So I'm just going to brush it on. Like I say, we'll wipe off the excess with a little bit of blue cloth. And I've just got a sacrificial board down on the bench, just so we don't get the bench covered. But just going to be fairly liberal with it, and then wipe off the excess afterwards. It's where it will really show on the end grain, which is inside of all of these areas. So these are really darken up, which is what we want. This is sycamore, remember. This one's got a lovely natural edge on this side. So we'll start end grain. You'll probably find, like this one, it soaks in quite a lot. So it's quite important to let it dry and settle before you try and put any wax on the top. Really, really lovely smell from this citrus oil. Come to the other side in a minute when I can see it. I think just a couple more spots there, look. There, I think that's everywhere. Have a good look. Soaking in quite nicely already, but if I just grab a little bit of tissue, we're just going to wipe off the excess. Okay, so that's it's all oiled. We wiped off all the excess. I'm just going to wait 24 hours now, and then we'll give it a coat of wax, and then we're going to load it up with wine bottles. See how long they last. There we are, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the build there. Now I've got to go away and fill this up, of course. Don't forget, if you liked what you see, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you share us around with all your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notifications button to make sure you don't miss another Woodworking Wisdom. So let's go and buy a few bottles of wine and go and fill her up.